continuing on, we've got Seth in Idaho who had, I guess, a question for Don.
Hello.
How you doing, Seth?
Good. Yeah, my question for Don is just, when specifically talking about the question of slavery, atheists don't always, like, for example, with their sexual ethics, I've heard some atheists say that, well, I'm okay with gay rights and incest is okay as well as long as nobody gets hurt. Some are against incest, that sort of thing. So atheists have different standards when it comes to their ethics. I'm wondering, when it comes to the question of slavery, what moral standard do you use to determine whether it's right or wrong?
Well, I guess my morals are based on reason, responsibility, and compassion. So reason to understand the world, responsibility to take responsibility for my actions and understand their consequences, and compassion to have compassion for others and understand the effect I have on others when I'm doing something. And it's the old question for slavery. It's the old question is, would you like to be a slave? And if not, then why would you inflict that on others?
Okay. My question for you then is, well, I promise I have a point with this. Have you ever owned like a cat or a dog or something?
Yeah.
Okay. So humans are highly evolved animals. Why does the fact that they're more evolved mean that it's wrong to own them? I mean, I'm assuming you don't have a moral problem with owning a cat or a dog. Humans are just evolved. What's wrong with owning them?
So first of all, the concept of more evolved is a nonsensical statement. We are not more evolved than anything. That's a complete misunderstanding of evolution. It puts it as a kind of a ladder. When it's not a ladder, it's a tree. But I have pets. I have a variety. We've got 4 cats and 2 snakes, and I've had lots of other pets as well. They're not slaves. They are not simple property. I view it as custodianship and responsibility. And in the case of, for example, domestic cats, these are cats, for right or for wrong, that have been bred to be pretty much reliant on humans. This is the domestication process. My pets aren't slaves. And also, when it comes to rights and freedoms and moral responsibility, your moral responsibility is proportional to your ability to comprehend. We don't hold children, we don't hold people with diminished mental capacity responsible in the same way that we would hold other people responsible. And when it comes to dealing with the ethics of the situation, it is about, it's always about 2 beings with rights and desires, etc., and how do you work out the relationship between the 2 of them? So, if one of our cats wants to run away, we would be sad, and we would do what we could to protect it, because we understand that, it doesn't have the same understanding we do, but that's not in any way comparable to a slave.
Okay, maybe I'm misunderstanding, and I'm not trying to be passive-aggressive or anything. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. I called in specifically to talk to Don.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Can I talk to him instead? I want to know what his views on that sort of thing are.
Okay.
I mean, are yours pretty much the same as Matt's?
Well, yeah, I'd say so. The question of are we more evolved? Well, we've all been, our genes have all been on this planet about the same amount of time, and if we have a common ancestor, we're all equally evolved. My animals aren't slaves. They're pretty happy, to be honest.
Okay, but why is it that, I mean, you say, well, evolution is a tree, and we're, humans understand, they comprehend things better. I mean, assuming you agree with what Matt said, what I'm wondering is, okay, so we live in, I'm assuming you believe that the universe is essentially just stuff, it's matter, and, okay, so how do you account for laws of any kind, moral laws? I mean, why are your views, in a materialistic universe, laws literally don't exist. Moral laws, scientific laws, anything.
Well,
So why would you say,
why
can you make a law-like statement that slavery is
they're
wrong?
they're man-made things, right? Laws are...
Okay, so they're...
So we have laws, we abide by them. There are things that we have worked on and improved and made better over time, and we have societies based on them that seem to work pretty well.
Okay, but why is it morally obligatory for people to do it? I mean, you may say, well, it's more, it's a man-made law. Okay, why should other people listen to you when you say that?
Well, human morals are about how humans treat other humans, and as a human, I'm a stakeholder in this, and I have I can use my empathy to understand the effect of a law or a course of action on others, right?
Okay, but you would agree that simply because you feel a certain way, that doesn't mean it's morally obligatory. I mean, I might feel that Brussels sprouts are disgusting, but that doesn't mean I'm going to make laws that bind other people to that belief.
Right.
Right. So how do you know that your views on slavery aren't just personal preference? How do you know that they should be obligatory on other people?
Well, gosh, we've all kind of got rid of them out of our laws. We've had the debate. We've over the centuries we've had the Civil War. I have the benefit of the reasoning of everybody else that's come before me. And
right.
Various people have voiced
their
opinions.
My question is, okay, yes, it happens that we've gotten rid of it. Why? If you're going to say something is morally wrong or morally right, what standard are you using? By what standard?
The main one is harm, right? Treating someone as a pack animal or as a slave is harmful to that person, right?
Okay, so harming people is wrong, you would say. Okay, but if we're just all evolved, if we're just matter, why is it? I mean, if an animal kills another animal, no one gets. I mean, unless you're an animal rights activist who wants, unless you're concerned about that sort of thing. I mean, say if a lion kills a gazelle, nobody gets upset. They're animals. We're animals too. Why get upset if people mistreat each other?
Because we have higher expectations of humans. Because
that's
humans have the ability to reason.
Why should we have higher expectations of humans?
Because we have bigger brains, and we hold people accountable to various their actions and these sorts of things.
Okay, but
is there some reason you didn't want to talk to me?
Matt's feeling neglected.
Because these are mind-numbingly easy questions to address, and I'm not quite sure what the difficulty here is. Do you think?
I'm trying to make this a very focused call, and that's why I'm trying to talk to Don. So, Don, you keep saying, well, we have bigger brains, we have higher expectations. Okay, why
Your voice sounds shockingly familiar.
For others to enslave each other?
Say that again, please.
You're saying, well, we have bigger brains, we have higher expectations of humans. Okay, you're talking. Why does that mean it's wrong for one animal to enslave another animal?
I don't know. Have you ever been a slave?
You don't know? So you're admitting that you think slavery is wrong, but you don't know why.
I gave you an answer earlier that I didn't want to be a slave, and therefore I can reason that other people don't want to be slaves also, and
right. But that goes back to my original question of feelings. I mean, I may not, if I murdered someone, I may not feel like I deserve the death penalty, but other people, I might deserve it. My feelings on the matter don't matter. The question is whether it's right or wrong, and you're saying slavery is wrong. And I don't know why.
What do you mean by right or wrong?
That's what I'm asking you. What's your standard of morality?
You just said that because you feel it doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. What gives you the right to exclude how we feel about something?
Well, again, I used an analogy. I may, if somebody commits murder, I may feel like I don't deserve to be punished for it. But
how
the fact
does
that
the
I feel
person
like
who-
I don't
how does
need
the
to be punished for it doesn't mean I shouldn't.
Okay, but the person who was murdered was harmed, right? Objectively.
Yes. Right.
Okay.
It was an animal killing another animal. Survival of the fittest. What's wrong with that?
Wow. Go ahead.
Well, gosh.
Because he wants to talk to you.
Okay.
Because he's afraid.
Is this the type of society you want to live in? It's not one that I want to live in.
Right. What I'm asking, I feel like what my point is that you're dodging the question. You say, well, you don't think that slavery is right, do you? Well, no, I don't. I'm wondering is how do you account for it? You're saying it's wrong. Well, we don't want to live in a society with slaves. Well, there have been countries that have lived in societies with slaves, and the slave owners seem to enjoy it.
Okay. Well, I guess the fundamental principle here is that we're all sort of equal, right? And that
okay.
Some people aren't more equal than others. In
okay, fair enough.
Animal farm analogy, right? And so, if you're oppressing one group of people to support another, then that's wrong because of this basic principle, right?
So it's wrong for one group of animals to oppress another group of animals.
Well, that's not what he said. I don't know why you go to that.
Well, it's because humans are animals, aren't they?
Okay. We're also a collection of atoms. Is it wrong for atoms to hurt other atoms? I mean, let's try to
in a materialistic universe. In a materialistic universe, there are no laws. Period.
What do you mean by law?
I did say that human laws are human creations.
So if we remove all thinking beings from the universe, the universe doesn't behave in a certain way because there's a difference between descriptive laws and prescriptive laws. And so when we talk about the physical features of the universe, what we're talking about is descriptive laws. We're describing the way the universe works. It's not like there's a cosmic speed limit for light. We just know how light moves. The physical laws of the universe dictate, the limits.
Right. And in a materialistic universe, if all we are is stuff, there are no descriptive laws or prescriptive laws at all. So I don't understand. I mean, you were saying slavery is wrong. Okay, I may agree with you, but I don't
That's
share your
bizarre.
worldview.
You just said that there's no descriptive laws in a materialistic universe, yet we have descriptive laws.
Right. Somebody who believes in a materialistic universe may say they believe in descriptive laws. But what my point
I just did.
Like, here's an analogy. Somebody can know how to swim and not tell you how it works. They may have no idea of the physiology or the chemistry or anything like that.
Which doesn't change whether or not there are still physical realities that govern the properties that allow you to swim. The fact that one person does not know something does not mean that there's not a physical property that we could then describe as a law.
Sure, I agree with you there. I don't believe in a purely materialistic universe, so I think there are laws. But what I'm saying is, if all we are is matter in motion, we're just evolved animals, it's just a material universe, there are no laws. Don was
You're
saying,
just wrong.
And Don, I'd like to continue talking to you, Don.
I tell you what, how about we just move on to somebody else?
I want you to slavery is wrong, and you don't know why.
No, well, see, you talked to Don, and you asked specific questions, and he gave you responses that you just didn't accept.
Yeah, he said, I think slavery is wrong, but I don't know why.
He gave you much more than that, actually, but you are now dishonestly cherry-picking what he said. He talked about harm. He also talked about whether or not you would want to be a slave. There's this idea in the process of constructing solutions to ethical and moral dilemmas called a veil of ignorance, and that is construct the sort of system that you would like to live in, not knowing who you're going to be in that system. Now, we are in agreement, I would think, that slavery is not only bad for the individual, but that it is also bad for society, and that it is in fact bad for the slave owners as well, even if they can't necessarily see that right away, correct?
Generally, I agree with you, yeah.
Cool.
I'm not sure I caught everything.
We didn't have to appeal to anything remotely supernatural in order to reach agreement about that. The only thing we had to agree on was that we could look at this situation, determine the consequences of taking a certain action like permitting slavery or allowing somebody to kill someone, and look at the consequent universe that results in, and determine that this is worse for us.
Okay.
Now, individuals can still be wrong in their opinions about things, but that doesn't change whether or not the results are actually worse for us. For example, you could think that it's okay to drink battery acid, but unless you are some kind of extreme exception to the physical laws of the universe, the fact is that's bad for you. Your opinion is irrelevant to the truth of the matter. But for the people who are correct, who are basing this on the facts about reality, they have a process by which they can convince other people. And some of the ways we do that are things that Don said, where he talked about harm. And it's not just that harm is the single determining factor. And I don't even agree that harm is necessarily the primary factor, but it's in there, as is empathy, as is recognizing whether or not you would want to be a slave. You want to know what's wrong with slavery, you ask the slaves.
Okay. John, one of my points is we both agree that slavery is wrong. I think I can account for it. I don't think you can.
Did I just account for it?
An animal.
Hang on. Whether or not Don can account for it is irrelevant. Did I just account for it?
I'm trying to talk to Don, though.
I don't give a shit. Did I just account for it?
Why? No, I don't think so.
Okay, why not?
Well, at the end of the day, my question is, why do your views on it, why are they obligatory to other people?
They're not. It's not. It has nothing to do with the fact that these are my views. It has nothing to do with the fact that these are Don's views. What we are appealing to is the facts about reality, which are true independent of our position. Slavery isn't immoral because it's my view that it's immoral. I view it as immoral because I recognize the problems that come with creating a society that permits slavery. You can't just tie it to...
What if there's a society who wants to permit those problems?
There's nothing...
Are they wrong in doing that?
You just went to a... what if there's a society that wants to? There have been societies, and they've done that. There's nothing to stop them from doing it. However, that doesn't mean that they have instituted a system that is actually beneficial. They could be instituting a harmful system. And so the appeal to resolve this is to look at the facts about reality and not what any individual society or individual's opinions are.
Right, and when you're talking about facts, what I'm asking you to do is, okay, you're saying if a society institutes slavery, it has bad consequences. Okay, what if they're okay with living with those consequences? One group of animals enslaving another group of animals. Why is that wrong? Why do you say that's a fact of reality?
In the grand scheme of things, it's not. There is no lawgiver who's going to be pissed off about it.
The fact that they are okay with living with those bad consequences doesn't change the fact that there are bad consequences any more than the person who is okay with the fact that they're going to die from drinking battery acid is still going to die from drinking battery acid. You are not addressing, you're not acknowledging what I'm appealing to. Instead, you're just diverting to, well, what if somebody has a different opinion? And here's the scary thing, is that all the people who are advocating for religious moral systems, and they aren't actually religious moral systems, they're religious moral pronouncements, they suffer from the exact same problems that you would like to try to expose from a secular view, which is, I don't agree with what you say or what your God says, and don't care what you say or what your God says unless you can present some evidence for why this is actually true. It's the reason why there have been religious wars and conflicts between people of all different religions, because religion does not solve this problem, no matter how much people might pretend that it does. So you're really committing like the Tukul-K fallacy.
Okay. Again, my question is, you're saying there would be bad consequences for a society, like bad consequences for drinking battery acid. Why is it morally wrong for a society to intentionally institute something that has bad consequences?
It is only morally wrong if your morality is based on reality, if it is based on well-being. So all moral assessments...
Right, and the reality you describe to is a materialistic universe.
All moral assessments are the evaluation of a situation to an ideal.
Right.
That's it.
Except that laws don't exist in a materialistic universe.
Okay, we're now done. We're now officially done because you keep asserting this, and you haven't demonstrated that. How is it that laws don't exist in a materialistic universe?
By definition, in a materialistic universe, there's only matter.
I'm sorry, but you're simply wrong.
Prove it.
Well, why? That which can be asserted, that which can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without it. I don't have to prove your wild, unfounded assertion wrong. You just claimed that in a materialistic universe it is impossible to have laws, and then you claim that it's a matter of a definition. And it's not a matter of definition, because the fact that the universe is material does not tell you whether or not it follows certain laws that are descriptive, constructed by us to describe how the universe works. Basically, what your position comes down to is that a materialistic universe is static and frozen and does nothing and has no properties, which is false. Because in a dynamic universe where things move and interact, you can then describe how things move and interact.
Right. Okay, so you can say, well, in this one instance, this one thing did this, but that doesn't make it a law.
No, that's correct. We don't. Yes. Congratulations for discovering that scientists don't actually just make up laws based on a single observation. We live in a universe that is probabilistic. The laws that we use to describe are approximations of what we observe, and when we find something that doesn't fit, that is a point for another investigation.
Right, but the fact that something could happen 10 million times in a row,
yes,
that doesn't prove it's a law.
No,
it's a chance universe, and
scientific laws
10 million times in a row, that doesn't prove anything.
Seth, scientific laws don't say that because this has happened 10 million times in a row, it's going to happen one more time. Scientific laws describe what has happened in order to determine a probability that can approach certainty even if it never reaches it. You have a fundamental misunderstanding of what scientific descriptive laws, to the extent, well, laws tend to be in the realm of mathematics and physics and not science. Science creates theories and models. But you seem to have a fundamental misunderstanding of this, which is the fact that the universe is made of material stuff. As long as it's doing something, then you can describe what it's doing.
Right.
And that's all a descriptive law is, right?
Yeah.
So why is that impossible in a materialistic universe?
Well, a materialistic universe, you're saying, well, at the very least, what we know is that the universe is made of matter. We don't, maybe there are no laws, but we'll inductively reason to probabilities. That's essentially what you're saying, right?
No. I don't know why it's so difficult. I don't know why, Seth, I don't know why it's so difficult for you to address what I actually just said. I tried to make it as simple as possible. You've claimed that in a materialistic universe you can't have descriptive laws. I just gave you a demonstration of how descriptive laws work. That is a description of something changing, moving in a dynamic material universe. Now,
okay.
And I'm asking.
So you've described an is. Where does the ought come from?
I have not mentioned an ought.
Right, but you're
descriptive laws aren't oughts. What? Sorry.
Well, what you've said is you've described a universe. You're saying this is the way the universe is. We can have descriptive laws in a materialistic universe.
Yes.
Say, okay.
No, you didn't actually say okay.
Where do moral standards come from? You're arguing from an is to an ought.
No, I'm actually not arguing.
Well, they don't come from God, right? Because if there were a God, he got it wrong on this one, right?
Well,
wrong by what standard? Where's the ought? You've described an is.
You already agreed that slavery was wrong, right?
Where is the ought from
God got it wrong?
Well, I'm the one who called in, and I'm asking the questions. What I want to know is...
Hang on. No, sir.
That's an ought.
No, sir, Seth. Seth, this is actually discussion. And the goal of the show, we ask people what they believe and why. It's actually us asking the questions. I've been far more tolerable with your shenanigans than perhaps I should, considering how long the call's gone on. The question is that how does appealing to a God, first of all, I haven't made an ought statement. I was talking about is's. We were talking about descriptive laws. And your assertion was that descriptive laws can't exist in a material universe, something which I've repeatedly asked you to defend, which you have avoided. And now you're going to say that you're the one who's asking the questions.
Matt, it's an argument from definition. If you say that the world is made of matter and that's it, Well, you're defining out of existence laws.
No, you're not.
If you say matter exists and only
No, if you define that the universe only exists of matter, you have not defined laws out of existence, because you haven't demonstrated that matter is incapable of producing a mind with which to identify and observe the differences. You are making a grand assumption in there.
We don't know.
Sorry?
I'm not, in that particular argument, I'm not saying that we can't. I'm just saying you don't know. If you say that the world's made of matter, you can't know that there are laws.
Excuse me? You can't know that there are laws? We have...
What I'm saying is that if the universe is made of matter and it's only made of matter, you can't know that there are laws.
Yeah,
I mean, you'd have to observe every fact of the universe and find out that it, obeys the laws of logic.
What is your definition of a law?
Something that applies to all particulars. I might start with that.
Okay, there are no laws. I'm not aware of any laws. Your definition of law is patently absurd. It doesn't match with the descriptive laws that we were just talking about. It doesn't match with the laws of mathematics or physics. The type of law you're describing is one that is tied up with this idea of absolute certainty. And I'm not aware that we could be or could have absolute certainty with regard to anything.
So you're not certain that slavery is wrong?
No, not absolutely certain.
Okay.
Are you?
Sounds good. I am, yeah.
Now, just because I'm not absolutely certain, you didn't ask how certain I was.
Okay. So you're not certain.
Does it matter whether or not I'm does it matter whether or not I'm absolutely certain, or if I'm just really, 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 really close to certain? Because I'm convinced that I can't be absolutely certain about anything.
Are you certain about that?
No.
Okay.
Have you been watching Seitan Bugenkate? Because if not, you can watch that debate where I actually addressed all this. Are you certain, Seth?
I am, yeah.
How did you get to be absolutely certain? Tell me something you're absolutely certain about, and how you got to be absolutely certain.
I can summarize the position, but I don't want you to take the summary as an argument.
I just said, tell me one thing that you're absolutely certain about, and how you got to be absolutely certain.
I would summarize it by saying that C.S. Lewis gave a good description of it when he put it this way, that arguing against the existence of God is a lot like cutting off the tree branch that you're sitting on. Any other position slits its own throat.
Well, thank you for that colorful bit of prose, but you didn't tell me one thing that you were absolutely certain about, and you didn't tell me how you were absolutely certain.
Well, God created everything.
And
I'm certain of that.
You're absolutely certain that God created everything?
Yep.
How did you get to be absolutely certain about that?
I get my worldview from Scripture, and Scripture claims that he did that.
And how do you know the Scripture is absolutely correct?
Because it was written by an infallible God.
How do you know that it was written by a God?
Well, I see where you're getting at this, Matt, and here's the problem. Any hole that you think you can poke in my arguments or worldview, you can't be certain about.
I'm not asserting. I'm not asserting that I'm absolutely certain.
Just because you're certain doesn't mean you're right.
See, I have this great new T-shirt with a brain and a vat on it, and it says, "I don't know, and you don't either." And so you're the one who's claiming that you're absolutely certain, and I'm asking you how. And as we drill back, all of a sudden you realized, oh wait, this is going to lead me to a trap where I have to acknowledge that I'm not actually absolutely certain. Aren't you a fallible being?
Yes, I am.
Then how is it possible for you to be absolutely certain about anything?
Because I have an infallible source from which
How do you know that that source is infallible? If you have to assess a source to determine whether or not it's fallible or infallible, and you're fallible, how could you ever determine that the source is infallible?
Because no other position makes sense.
How do you know? How do you know that no other position makes sense?
I'm talking to Don, so I'm going to go back to Don.
No, you're done talking to anyone, Seth. Thank you so much for calling and acknowledging that your failings there, because you don't get to dictate that just because the going gets tough and your fallacies related to certainty have been exposed, that you get to move on to Don. Have a good weekend. Yeah, I do this shit for a living.
What fun being a punchy bag. Let's go to another caller.
Yeah, let's do. I'm absolutely certain because God makes me absolutely. This is actually something I want to touch on before we get to the next call because I'm going to do it a little bit more in a video. I'm doing a deconstruction of the debate that I did with Cy, and I've done 2 parts of that video. There'll be a 3rd one coming soon where I'll address this in greater detail. And the problem, not only as I pointed out, of being a fallible being, trying to address this issue of whether or not there's an infallible God, is that let's assume for the sake of argument that there was a God, and he's infallible, and he knows everything with absolute certainty, which I don't even know how it's possible, but let's say he does. And you are not a God. Not only could you not be absolutely certain, I don't see how it's possible that this God could make you absolutely certain. And the example that I used was like, if you've got a dirty filter and you pour water through it, you're not going to get clean water out of it.
Yeah.
And it's not a perfect analogy, but the problem here is that
you couldn't possibly distinguish a lying God from a all-knowing God.
it goes back to what we said about the Garden of Eden ages ago, which is, if you read the story, the serpent's the one that tells the truth. But when people say, "Oh, I know that God," I ask them, "How do you know God's the good one and the devil's the evil one?" "Oh, well, because God's the good one." No. You've made that determination.
Right.
What standard did you use to judge? "Oh, well, God has written his moral code on my heart." Well, you're judging God by God's own standard at that point. And if you judge the devil by the devil's own standard, then he'd come out shining. If you judge me by my own standard, I'd come out shining. All you're doing is making an axiom that says, I'm absolutely certain that God exists and made me absolutely certain because I'm going to assume that God exists and is perfect and is capable of making me certain.
Yep.
You can't, if your calculator only displays the 5 significant digits, you're not going to get 100 significant digits out of it. It's just not possible. But anyway,